Robbie Benson, one-on-one. One-on-one. That was horrendous. I mean, and such a cliched, flawed movie that was just pedantically slow in terms of pace. You knew exactly what was going to happen. I mean, who didn't think that Benson was going to star in the championship game at the end of that movie? It would have been a better movie if he got hurt and never, he left the court.
You're like rooting for him to get hurt.
Some imagination if you're writing one of these scripts, no?
Like, oh, wow, they did it. There was a twist. I didn't see that coming.
Who thought he was going to fall flat on his face and the coach was going to say, you know what? I told you were awful and you should have been on the team in the first place. I should have revoked your scholarship. You're a jerk.
He's down on his luck and becomes a drug addict. You're like, wow, that movie took a turn. What a great movie.
Much better movie. It would have been a better movie if Hilary Swank had checked out after she got hit with the head with the chair, which, not even Richard Steele would have allowed that to go on. Steve Smoger, who would have a guy, I nicknamed Steve Smoger, the boxing referee, let him bleed. The guy would be bleeding from every pore, and the Smoger going, yeah, one more round. That's it, kid. If you don't show me something here, I'm going to have to stop it. Steve, this fight should have been stopped when he came out of the dressing room. What are you talking about?
He's like passing out.
Guy's getting a transfusion in the corner, and Smoger's going, okay, man. He's telling Emmanuel Stewart, I'll give you guy one more round. That's it.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
It definitely would have been a better finish, no doubt about it, if Robbie Benson had ended up in some custodial capacity at the Jamaica OTB parlor, sweeping up tickets off the floor and waking people up with the broomstick. Hey, Joe, you can't sleep here. Huh? We're closing. Let the speculation begin. Welcome to the show, Jeff DeForest. We got Mike Lubie Lubitz. Always happy to be with you here on Bleacher Brothers and Facebook and all the other places where you guys catch the program. Now, it was a mild speculation yesterday. I threw it out there thinking that, there's no way. I mean, there's always a way, but I didn't think it was actually going to happen yesterday as we mentioned it in the morning. Now, it wasn't like we broke the story. I'm perusing the usual stuff online, and there was speculation. Would the Knicks part ways with Tom Thibodeau? Often critiqued by Mike Lubie Lubitz for his Marquis de Sade mentality when it comes to playing starters. It wasn't as if he had Yogi Berra-like deep depth on the bench, because they lost a lot of their bench strength. Not a lot, but they lost some of it in the Karl Anthony Towns deal. DiVincenzo being a key player there. And they didn't really have that many people that you brought off the bench that you thought, whoa, there's an imposing figure. This guy's going to light it up like Vinnie Johnson, the microwave. It wasn't as if they had candidates for sixth man of the year, which, by the way, went to the guy that you despise, Pritchard, from the Boston Celtics. So you can bring a small white guy off the bench and actually have him be effective. McConnell does that for the Indiana Pacers. But the Knicks had none of that. They didn't have Mike Reardon to go out there and give a foul. They didn't have anybody. Hawthorne Wingo was a long time ago retired. Phil Jackson used to be like an seventh or eighth man with the Knicks back in the day when they were good, which was a long, long time ago, which was one of the reasons I thought that there are certain circumstances. Now, we know coaches are going to get fired. They're highly expendable. Thibodeau had just signed a 3-year extension prior to this year, so he still had 2 years left on his contract. Doesn't put him in the Mike Budenholzer category, who, interestingly, Lubie, it's like a Clockwork Orange. Your name was mentioned. Yes. Budenholzer mentioned. The diametric opposite, diametrically opposed in philosophical approach to Tom Thibodeau. He doesn't play his starters at all, Budenholzer. You got Antetokounmpo averaging 20 minutes a game for the Milwaukee Bucks. This guy's like, let's just go party. And unfortunately for Budenholzer, while he had a pretty distinctive record as a regular season coach, and he had a lot of good players that he had the chance to work with, but wasn't really much of a postseason coach. Did win that one championship, which you would have thought would have given him a little bit of time, a little leeway. What do people want, Lubie? That's the question. The speculation out, Thibodeau, from an achievement standpoint, this was the first time the Knicks were in the conference finals in 25 years. Going back to 2000, I think, was the last time they appeared in a conference finals. He coached the team for 5 years, And 4 of the 5 years they were in the postseason. So it wasn't as if they had a horrible stretch there where they became forgotten and given up for dead like many South Florida franchises have been over 20-year periods of not complete ineptitude, but sub-mediocrity. Let's call it that. So I don't know. Number one, Lubie, what did you think? When we talked about this yesterday, did you actually think it was going to happen? Thibodeau getting fired?
And I actually think I didn't think it would happen because of what you were talking about. Is he got them to a certain level? They're competing every year. The East is wide open. They were forgotten, really. I mean, they were a laughing stock for the 2000s and 2010s, both decades. Like even when they finally made a move and got Carmelo and got went and spent money and brought in players, it blew up in their face, and I don't think they got out of a first round. So, like, they were just a mess, and yes, mostly because of their owner. Very much like down here, a guy who tries to do the right thing, and he doesn't get totally involved, Dolan, but he gets involved enough where it's just sort of a joke. So the fact that he made them relevant and made them consistent again, it's like, okay, the East is open. The Celtics will probably take a step back, especially with Tatum's injury. They don't have much of a bench either. They're aging out as well on the bench. So it's like, okay, and it's a lot of young teams trying to rise up. So if you're the Knicks, maybe with your rough and tumble defense, you can hang around and maybe break through. So I thought maybe they'd give it one more year, but my Knick fan friends, the ones that are actually like somewhat stable and they're not lunatics, have wanted him gone. And I'm like, they're not wrong if you're trying to go to another level. Like, it's funny. We see this with teams all the time where they get to a certain place and then you wonder if that coach is the guy that can take you to the promised land. And if you look at Thibodeau's teams, it feels like this is a capper. Like, he did get to a conference finals with the Bulls. The T-Wolves couldn't get out of their own way because Butler is a loon, and then the young guys, and they never meshed. So it feels like this is a cap. And if you're the Knicks, the way your contracts are, the amount of money you spent, like, you only have so much time. You sort of have to go for it. So I wasn't surprised when it happened, but no, I did not think it would happen this year. I thought they'd give him one more year and then go from there.
Seems like continuity is a word you hear a lot in these circumstances. But what was it that prohibitive that you couldn't continue to have Thibodeau? They talk about he's lost. No one mentioned this. He's lost the locker room. I don't know. Did you hear that anywhere, Lubie? That's usually
they didn't defend him. The problem is no one was coming out in his defense. The way he coaches gets you to a certain place, but players eventually hate you, and especially players in this day and age. Like, even guys that are hard workers like Hart and Bridges, by the end of the year, they were done. I mean, they had nothing left at the end of the year. Look, I could see them losing to the Pacers, but they shouldn't have lost. Like, the way that game 6 went, where the second half, they just sort of, you saw the Pacers pull away. To me, that was 100%. They just don't have anything left. And that's what Thibodeau is. Like, if teams have any depth, eventually they're going to beat his teams, because he shies away from depth. He doesn't build the depth. He doesn't trust the depth. And then he shortens his bench even more. Like, I think in the regular season, they were 9-10 deep. He went to 6 or 7. Like, the Thunder, the Heat usually run 12 deep, and then in the playoffs shorten it to like 9. Like, to shorten it to 7 players, at the end they try to force Shamet in there, and I didn't even know he was on the team, let alone in the league still. Like, you're only going to go so far. And the fact that they got to conference finals, I get it if you're Knicks fans going, look where we were, we should just be pleased. They're paying 4 dudes max money. Like, you can't pay 4 guys max money and be, yay, we got here. You know, like that. Pick. Like, either you're going for it or you're not. Like, you can't just be happy getting to a certain place and just it's okay. It's what I wonder with the Canes fans with Cristobal. Like, it's clear he can't coach. It's clear. Like, he's a good recruiter. He's good at hyping up. He's good at getting people excited about a program. He's good at putting enough talent.
He's good at getting the benefit of the doubt. That's for sure.
It's lots of benefit of the doubt. He's good at getting you attention. He's good at look, they're going to be preseason top 15 again. So he'll get you to your 8 or 9 win plateau, maybe your 10 win plateau. He's not going to win when he has to go against real coaches. He's not going to win conference championship games or title games. I mean, if you watch the guy coach, he's not going to do it. So at some point, I'm curious, because Canes were irrelevant for 20 years. Like, I'm curious if they're like, oh, yay, we're happy to be relevant. Or you remember that you're a Kane and you're like, you know what? Getting to the top 5 in the ACC, like, gets old after a while, and that's Thibodeau. Now Thibodeau is a decent coach. He's Cristobal just sucks, but Thibodeau's a decent coach, but he's not great with X's and O's. He's not. He gets outcoached all the time. And he beats the crap out of his players. And then he doesn't do, and he's not open to like learning. Like he's not open to, okay, you know what? Maybe we should work in more guys. Maybe we should give our guys some blows. I'm not even talking about, the Kawhi Leonard crap, but just like you can't have 5 guys in the top 8 of minutes. Like you on one team, like you can't have that. And Andy can defend him because Andy's 1970s, 1960s basketball fan.
And Andy thinks you only bring 5 guys.
Yeah, no, sorry, Andy, man, you're like massively wrong on this one. Like,
why even pay the rest of the roster?
He's a really good coach, and he makes you relevant, and then you move on from him. Like that's what he is. That's just what he is. If you gave it one more year, you did it this year.
Who could do it better? That's the question. Didn't mean to cut you off there, but
no, you're fine.
The speculation would be, I mean, who could do it better than Thibodeau? Now, Thibodeau just seems like a miserable. I mean, he really does. He's like that fetching old Jew that comes out of the delicatessen and says, the portions have really been decreased here. I don't know why I'm paying so much money for this sandwich. Okay. I mean, you know what you were getting into when you walked into Katz's Deli. You're going to get clobbered one way or another. Now, if you don't need a jackhammer to, chisel this thing down so you can actually eat it, then maybe that's the way it should be coming instead of all of this excess. But he's the guy that's going to be complaining no matter what. He just looks like he's a miserable human being, and yet he's not. And you don't hear turmoil. I mean, it didn't seem like there was a lot of acrimony, a lot of friction. No, I didn't sense that with his players. Josh Hart would be the last guy you'd think would come to the coach and go, "Hey, listen, man, I can't log all these minutes."
No, they're not going. But that's a problem.
But, the same way. I mean, Karl Anthony Towns, I guess, was flaky, and now Lubie, because I know you love this type of conversation more than anything. There's even speculation. I don't know how far-fetched it is that the Knicks would be more than happy to trade Karl Anthony Towns after one season in some kind of an arrangement with the Phoenix Suns so they could get Kevin Durant, which would seem not like a very wise maneuver, would it? I mean, at worst, Karl Anthony Towns could be workable. I don't know. Well, what do you have to do to motivate him to play at the defensive end? That would be the biggest question. Is there a coach out there that can do that? I mean, and that would seem to be one of their bigger flaws. Besides the fact that, look, they could probably find that's on Leon Rose to find a couple of guys that can be part of some sort of synchronization of a second unit, where it's not a total bust out, and you're not afraid to take your starters out of the game for a couple of minutes and let somebody else do some work. But that was interesting. I didn't think it would happen yesterday. I don't know about you, Louis. Did that surprise you as much as it did me? Because I literally was just looking at that as if, wow, there's another. I don't even know if it's clickbait, but you're thinking, why would people even be speculating on this? In all likelihood, it's not going to happen. Candidates, kind of interesting also. I mentioned, I don't know, is Budenholzer really a candidate? Does he end up, can you see James Dolan saying, hey, let me get another guy who failed to make it with lots of different teams and configurations?
He won a title. That's the funny thing about Budenholzer is he won a title with the Bucks at least, but
he still got rid of him. Yeah.
No one gives him credit.
Why would he want to work, though? It's a guy, the professor pointed this out. He's probably got $50 million coming his way from the 2 teams he got fired from early in the contract. And then, the other thing with Thibodeau, that's always a great situation, dream situation again, right? You sign a long-term contract. In this case, 3 years. A 3-year extension was not huge, but he signed for the next 2 years. What was he making? $5, $7, $8 million a year? I don't know. What's the going rate for a mediocre coach who's about to get canned?
Yeah, like 4 to 6.
That's. I mean, how did that perception change though? From what it would have to strictly be that this idea that he plays his starters too many minutes, and yet what were his options? I don't know. So you have what? You have Dan Hurley mentioned. Dan Hurley, you see him becoming a Knicks coach.
No.
Jay Wright out of the college ranks. He's been out of basketball. Would Jay Wright really want to be the Knicks head coach? That's kind of interesting.
No, he's half his program is on the team. So
yeah, right. He recruited the team. Jeff Van Gundy is always being speculated upon as to perhaps making a comeback. Mark Jackson, I don't know that he would be in the mix there. Mark Jackson wants to get back into it. Mike Malone, who was the Denver coach, certainly has some credentials. So we'll see what happens with that. But that was a startling development for me. I did not anticipate that Thibodeau would get fired by the Knicks so shortly after the season, and especially after I thought they had a pretty good year. No,
I mean, they made the conference finals. They had a good year. When you look at a team that was 5 years ago, 5 years removed from just being a joke, trying to figure out anything they could to be relevant, it was a good year. I don't think it's a failure in any way. But I think they're trying to make it clear that their intentions are for titles and not just being relevant. And look, it depends.
Look, it's evaluation, though, wasn't it? I mean, they're not ready to win a title with the players they have.
No, I don't think this team is a title team. You look at the Thunder, but I don't know what they could have been. Like he didn't even try to bring along a bench. He didn't say, look, we need some guy. Like he was very happy with this team and just wanted to play the 5 or 6 guys he plays. And that's something that every Knicks fan was very consistent about and very frustrated with. Like, I don't care. Like I'm pissed. If they can get Malone or some of the guys, like they're talking about Malone, they're talking about Udoka now from the Rockets, formerly of the Celtics. And I guess they had an assistant, Johnny Bryant, who was a really strong assistant that went to the Cavs and was a big part of the Cavs' success this year that they want to bring back. Like those 3 guys feel like an upgrade over Thibodeau. So I'd rather them keep Thibodeau. I think with Thibodeau, we know as a Heat fan what the Knicks are going to be. They're going to be rough. They're going to be tough. And if you go 9 or 10 deep, you can outlast them. Like I'd rather the devil that I know, to be brutally honest, as a Heat fan. So if they can hire the right person, that bothers me. Now, if they went Budenholzer, then as a Knicks fan, you should be losing it because that's a stupid ass hire. But I don't think Budenholzer, Frank Vogel, or Mike Brown are actual candidates. I think there has to be like 4 retreads thrown in every conversation.
Malone makes sense. His father was an assistant there, Brendan Malone.
Yes.
Mike Malone's father was an assistant with the Knicks, I think, on a couple of occasions. So there are ties there. He grew up in Queens. That would make some sense. I mean, the guy seemed to be more of an upbeat coach than Tom Thibodeau, that's for sure. And maybe that was the problem that did you think? I mean, Thibodeau walks around like he's got a cloud of smoke over his head, doesn't he? Like there's just a dark cloud hovering over his entire approach. Just seems like there's very little joy that he imparts to the players about playing a game. Did you ever? Sometimes you'll see a guy in a huddle, and the coach is not necessarily going all out X's and O's. He takes the grease board out and just writes, let's outwork him or whatever on it. Doesn't necessarily diagram a play. I don't see Thibodeau being that kind of inspiring motivation.
He's not X's and O's guy. He's not. He's a guy that coaches strong defense and effort. And again, it gets you to a certain point. Bingo. And Joe B is talking about it. And remember, I talked about it all series. I'm like, Rick Carlisle might not be Spo, might not be Pop, but he's a guy that consistently gets more out of his teams and at least what he's supposed to get. Like Thibodeau's good at getting more out of less, but he somehow gets less out of more. And like, because he's not used, it's what Norvell scares me about at FSU, right? Like he is G5 guys, what they make fun of. Like he's used to getting more out of less. Well, what if you have a cupboard full of talent? Now you should be able to do different stuff than you ever thought you could do. That's not Thibodeau. Like Thibodeau wants to play the same kind of team no matter what Thibodeau. No, you don't have to do that. If you have guys that can score, if you guys that can stretch the floor, if you guys that can move the ball, he never thinks of offense. Like his offenses are so old school and stale. Like no matter who he has, no matter the personnel. And what Andy's saying, it is his fault. Like he has enough. You're signing a guy for 3 years, $30 million. You 100% have a say in personnel. If you want better guys for the bench, if you want more talent for the bench, you have a say. He doesn't care. Like he doesn't even play them. He's like, yeah, here's Shamet, go play. Like he doesn't even focus on. And I know this from my Knicks fan friends. I don't watch the Knicks that much. Like this is all their laments. And when you watch Thibodeau throughout the years, this is what he's always done. And look, it's fine if you do something at one point, but then you grow like Popovich and Spo, like change depending on the talent. He doesn't. He's the same coach no matter who the players are, whatever the city is, whatever point in his career. Yeah. So it's fine.
It would be like if Shula had insisted on running the ball once he saw Danny Boy throw the rock. He had to change, right? I mean, this was the guy with a dominant running game. What? He's just throwing Zonka down your throat for years. You had Greasy throw 7 passes in a Super Bowl game, for God's sake. Then all of a sudden, you see that not only has the game changed in a way that it's being approached, but you have a guy who can throw the rock. You have to go with it, right? You can't continue to go Chuck Noll and be old school. We're going to grind it down their throats. That's what we're going to do. All right. Well, that's that. I mean, the speculation will be ongoing until the Knicks actually come up with somebody. But I did think it was kind of surprising, interesting to see. Knick fans don't seem to be overwhelmingly, surprised or shocked or even upset. Maybe that says something about the
I think
perception.
the hires everything. Look, if they Jay Wright's interesting. I mean, he seems really happy on the gig he has, and he's never coached the NBA. So those are always weird to me. College guy to the NBA. Donovan's had some success, but we've seen a lot more failure than success there. If you can get Malone or Udoka, to me, that's an upgrade. And our friend, the professor, is like Malone's Tibbs with a title. I've never heard that ever. So I don't know where that comes from. I've never heard that Malone's a hard ass that players can't stand playing for. Never heard that. I know this year there was disconnect and there were whatever the hell there was with Malone, but we had never heard that with Malone. And so I'm going to give him a little bit of benefit of the doubt because we haven't seen him in 3 places over 20 years doing whatever the hell Tibbs has done. Tibbs we have. To me, if you can go and get a Malone, a Udoka, maybe the Bryant guy, because assistants do rise up and show that they can be coaches. Look at Spo, like we've seen. So to me, you can't do a retread. Like if you're going to make a move to get rid of a guy who's been winning, you can't just go for a guy that's had 5 jobs. Like you can't do that. You're just going to piss off your fan base.
J.J. Redick comes from the Lakers.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, okay.
Pulls O'Reilly. All right. That was that one. A lot of other stuff going on. Many things. By the way, there was already a significant sporting event completed today. That took place in Paris. Coco Gauff over Madison Keys coming back after losing the first set, French Open. So Coco advances, and the last American standing, Coco advances to the women's semifinals. And the 2 American men that were left yesterday in the quarterfinals both got smoked as Tiafo lost to this kid Musetti, an Italian who is absolutely spectacular on the clay. This guy's got a sweet backhand, Lubie, and could be, I don't know that he's going to win the thing because there are a couple of guys still out there, including your man, Novak Djokovic, still alive in the tournament, trying to make his way into the semifinals later on today. As Djokovic takes on Zverev, who is an outstanding clay court player and one of those guys that you keep waiting to break through. He's been number 2 in the world. I think he was number 1 in the world for a period of time. And just can't seem to break through and win one of these slams. It looked like he might have been on the threshold of winning the French a few years ago. He had a nasty ankle injury. I believe he was playing Nadal at the time, who I think went on to win the tournament. But, Zverev and the Joker going to do battle today later on. And then the guy that's really interesting, don't you love the athlete that has exceptional skills? People usually are more disparaging about these kind of guys. There's a guy named Alexander Bublik. I don't know if you've ever seen this guy. He's like 6'6" and a monster server. Has a decent enough all-around game, but never has done anything especially significant, although he has his share of wins over good players. And he's still alive in the tournament. He is the number 1 player from Kazakhstan, Lubie. Kazakhstan must be their biggest athlete. But he has an approach that's entirely different. As if he was, while the other guys were going through all of this this mental training and focus, he was smoking a joint before the tournament and getting ready to play. And he doesn't take himself in any kind of overwhelmingly serious fashion. Now, some would say, and look, remember they used to say that about Djokovic way back in the day, that Djokovic wasn't focused enough to be able to accomplish anything commensurate with what his potential represented. And maybe he did go through some kind of a change in his mental approach to the game, but certainly with 100 titles later, that seems like it was maybe a premature evaluation, as we like to say. This Bublik guy is kind of fun, so that'll be an interesting matchup. as he goes against Sinner, who is the number one player in the world, coming out of this. How much controversy? I mean, what do you make of that, Lubie? They're still talking about this guy as if he was shooting drugs with Bonds and Canseco. And it was one of those weird things. How believable are some of these rationales where the guy says, "Hey, my trainer was using some lip balm or something, and he touched my nose, and somehow it got into my system." How believable are some of these stories? Because Sinner's story was deemed to be true.
Oh well, because tennis is weird. That tennis.
Tennis is usually pretty harsh, though. I mean,
They're
tricky
extremely harsh.
Yeah.
But they're weird. Like, I never believe them. Look at
This is
Baffert.
an international drug organization, Awana, or one of those things, or
I know.
whoever administrates that. Which I don't know what methods they use. I mean, they let all these Russians and East Germans into international competitions. They let a guy go in there and box. What are you talking about?
Exactly.
Women's competition. So, but anyway, Sinner's playing great, and it does appear. I mean, if you were going to be Mr. Chalk, Mr. Milk of Magnesia, that you're going to see Alcaraz and Sinner perhaps in the final for the French Open. But the build-up to it is always great, and there are a lot of stories, a lot of layers to what transpires in some of these events that often don't get the kind of attention that maybe they should. This Bublik guy, though, be interesting. If he could possibly, I don't know, you would give him, what, 0 chance? If you were watching the tournament, Lubie, having seen Sinner just destroy people, I mean, just mowing right through them like they didn't exist. That's what happened to the two American men. So all of that encouragement we were trying to muster up about how the American men are making progress.
It's annoying.
Right out the window, my friend. Right out the window yesterday. Tommy Paul got smoked by Carlos Alcaraz. It was almost, you had to maybe step in there and just stop it. That could have been one of those matches where you just, in the middle of the second set, you said, "Okay, Tommy, you've had enough." Tough competitor, too. I mean, so high level of tennis being played there. But Coco Gauff, congratulations, already through to the women's semifinals as she beat fellow American Madison Keys early this, well, it was in the afternoon in France, but early this morning here by Eastern Standard Time. All right, we're going to go old school with Tony Segreto. That's coming up in just a few. You do have the Panthers. We didn't even mention this yet. We've been babbling away about the Knicks. Who cares about the Knicks? You would say, Lubie, and yet they made headlines yesterday with somewhat surprising firing, I guess. I don't know. That when I mentioned that on the show yesterday, Lubie, I almost was going to skip over it, thinking, well, that's a stupid story. So it shows you what I know, my whose judgment. But I did mention it because all of a sudden it was like, that seems kind of weird. I mean, the guy just went to the conference finals. It's like that would happen here in South Florida, where you get the manager of the year fired in the subsequent season with the Marlins organization, who helped the Colorado Rockies end an infamous streak where they had lost 22 consecutive series. Now, I think this was only a 2-game series, right? Colorado, they would have won the series if it was 3, but I don't believe they're playing today. So they were in town for a Monday and Tuesday game. They came to town, the Colorado Rockies, against the Marlins with a 3-28 road record. 3-28, the worst record in Major League Baseball through 60 games since like the it was like 1901 or something the last time somebody had a start like this. 1901, Lubie. Think about that. We're talking about 125 years of baseball history. Nobody's been this bad. It seems virtually impossible. And they win. This guy, again, the catcher, is it Goodman? Hunter Goodman? He hit another home run last night. Sandy Alcantara, the positive.
He had a good start.
Yeah, the positive that you can take away is that if anybody was watching that needs starting pitching, which some contending teams are going to say, hey, we could use a starter. We'll give up 11 prospects for this. And you get your dream situation if you're a Marlin fan. You trade a guy who hopefully is coming around after coming back from Tommy John surgery and showed, do we count it because it was against the Rockies, Lubie?
No, yes.
Quality start by Sandy Alcantara?
He's played bad teams and hasn't looked good. No, it was nice to see him pitch well. I guess you're probably right. It's to see who they can shop him to.
Like they're dangling a carrot out there. They had to be thrilled with last night's game, even losing to the Rockies and snapping their 22 straight series losses. The Colorado Rockies leaving town after sweeping the Marlins in the 2-game series, albeit in 2 close contests. But still, I mean, you're talking about a team that had 9 wins when they came to town 59 games into the season. Crazy. Yeah, that's the status of that team. And yet we have a championship possibly on the horizon here, Lubie. Have you rethought any of your theories about the Panthers and the Edmonton Oilers? Does loom as a toss-up. Panthers, you're now getting 110 to a $100 wager, and you have to lay 130. So I believe that's increased by at least. Well, I mean, it was I think even money yesterday you were getting on the Panthers. Now you're getting plus 110, and I believe it was minus 120 on the Edmonton Oilers. And now all of a sudden, a lot of people did they listen to the show yesterday, Lubie, and sort of developed the same sense of fear that you had about overlooking the Oilers this year, a hungry team with Connor McDavid looking for his first championship. The one thing, I mean, you don't want to go Ernie Banks on this, do you?
No, in hockey you
You want to
can't.
be Charles Barkley. You don't want to be Danny Boy.
No.
And never have a title? Wow.
All
And
the
look at
greats.
yeah, I mean, the Panthers there 3 years in a row, but the degree of difficulty of accomplishing that, we know, is extremely high. So if you're the Oilers, you're back there for the 2nd year in a row in the Stanley Cup Finals. Can you safely assume we're going to be making it year after year? I don't think so.
Oh, no way.
Sports is much more transient in terms of, we're seeing it on all levels of sport. It's where it's hard to keep a team together just because of the parameters and the guidelines that these teams have to operate under. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll come back. Tony Segreto is going to join us. Do we say hello to Tony? Let's see what he looks like today. There he is. Tony, how are you?
I am fine and dandy. How are you?
Good. We saved your favorite topic, which we have some thoughts on for the beginning of old school here. So, because what we need a clarification. I think I understand it now, but I don't fully. But we'll get into that when we come back in a moment. Tony Segreto, Old School, brought to you by Texas Roadhouse. Coming up in a moment. Now that
The time.
8:33.
Hey, folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453.
What we gonna do right here is go back, way back into time.
We are now kicking it old school with the one and only Tony Segreto. Brought to you by Texas Roadhouse.
All right, welcome back to the show. Good to be with you here on a Wednesday. We go old school with Tony Segreto. We got Mike Lubitz up there in one corner, and I'm Jeff DeForest. All right, we were trying to figure this out, Tony. We can't think of anybody better to go to on this, although if there's some confusion, I understand it. But no one was more stout and devout follower of women's college softball, or now I guess, yeah, they call it softball. They don't call it baseball.
No, it's
women's college softball. And I started watching, I watch a few games here and there. I've told you over the course of time, I've softened my stance on it a little bit in terms of its overall meaning. And I'm happy for these girls that they can play softball at this level. Hitting the fast pitch.
It's astonishing.
Yeah.
It is really, really astonishing. But it's going to be a great series. Texas Tech in Texas, and we'll see what happens tonight.
All right, so here's the thing. How the hell does this work? Because I started to try and research it today, and I still don't understand it. And I know, you've gone and done many College World Series games in Omaha, Nebraska. You called one of the championship games on TV, I remember. And who's the guy, the big muscular guy that hit the home run? He was like a kind of. He was a right-handed Kyle Schwarber. I mean, he hit like 214, but he was a big muscular guy. He became their head coach, I think.
No,
for a while. No,
I don't think so. I don't think.
Yeah. All right. Well, we don't want to jog the memory too bad. Yeah. But how the hell does this? What's the format for the women's tournament? How does it end up? Now we know in Omaha, 8 teams end up coming. I know it's 2 out of 3, but how do you get to that? I mean, what was there a gathering of the final 8 somewhere? I didn't see that.
Oh yeah, they had a gathering of the final 8.
And where was that? Was that all in one place?
Oklahoma City.
Yeah, they have a World Series.
Okay.
And then was it double elimination?
All right.
Yes.
And they got down to the 2.
Okay, and it's Texas and Texas Tech.
Yeah.
So what do you make of this girl? I mean, is that $1 million a year that she's getting to play women's
$1.2 million
a year? Or is that total for however long she's at Texas Tech? How does that work?
I think it's going to be a year, but don't quote me on that because she is something. Boy, Nigeria is something else. No one can hit her.
But, I mean, even with that, she's 1 strike away from a shutout.
Yeah,
they'd gotten to her for a couple of hits, but it wasn't like anybody was,
was
calls. But and then this 9th place hitter for Oklahoma, it wasn't like it was Crystal Bustos up there. Knocks one out of the park, ties the game, and you thought, my God, how good is this program?
It's 2 outs in the 9th inning. The last inning, they tied up. And it goes to extras.
They won it in the bottom of the 7th. Texas Tech. They came back and rallied in the bottom of the 7th.
You can't beat that. You can't beat that game for its excitement. I know I'm partial to it, but I think it's a great game. And
all right. So there were 8 teams assembled in Oklahoma City. And they do the same thing they do in Omaha, Nebraska with the men's tournament, where you have the 8 teams and it's double elimination. Now, they changed at one time. I don't know if it's still this way. I'm assuming that it is, where you used to get, if you came out of the winner's bracket, the team that came out of the loser's bracket in the men's tournament had to beat you twice. And then because of television, they just made it a 1-game proposition. So,
well, in this case, it starts over.
Yeah, this is 2 out of 3. Okay.
2 out of 3.
Now, will the same girl, Kennedy, pitch all 3 games? Is that the way it works? I mean, why would you put somebody else in there? How much rest do you need?
I don't think she's pitching all 3.
Probably because
she could pitch them all. Is that possible?
She could pitch them all. She's ridiculous. She is something else. She is. I haven't seen, somebody that dominant since Cat.
She looks like an underhanded Bob Gibson. I mean, really does. She's throwing chin music, got all kinds of stuff. Now, what's the fastest clocking? I mean, she's 75. In the low 70s.
75.
75, and is that also by this Kennedy woman, or has somebody else accomplished that? All right.
She got it. Now, think about that. It's 50 feet away.
Is it 50?
50. I think it is 50.
Now, Little League distance was 40, wasn't it? And then you move back to 60 feet, 6 inches when you get to the next level, which was a bit of a stretch. All of a sudden, it seems like you're throwing a ball.
55 feet. So think about that.
55 feet. It's that far away? Okay.
No, think about 70 miles an hour.
That's insane.
Well, it seems like it would be closer, though. From 55 feet, 70 miles an hour. I know it's softball, and it's coming at you weird. But 70 miles an hour, I mean, when you go back and say, hey, let's go to the batting cage, and you take, the young Segreto grandson out there, you're getting in the 70-mile-an-hour cage because the 60 is too slow. No?
It's either 50 or 55
Yeah, but
feet.
it's closer. It's so close. It's
Gotta
like,
be. Yeah, it's not 55 feet. It can't be.
I don't know. Suppose I don't know what it is, but I know it's like closer than in baseball. So like
It'd be 50
when
feet.
you like compare it to baseball, supposedly is like like insanely
Yeah,
fast.
so that would be like more like a 90 mile an hour
Supposedly-
fastball.
It's
It's,
supposedly nuts. Like
she's gonna pitch every game.
Wow.
I was thinking about this today. You think these girls got any sleep last night?
oh no,
Oh, I don't know. I would
to
imagine
face
they seem pretty comfortable with this sort of thing. That's one of the things that impresses me about watching women's college sports. And I don't know that it's the same in some of the professional levels that they play, but they seem to be having a great time. I mean, they're not sitting there, all bummed out. They're all partying, dancing, doing all kinds of stuff. And then I would definitely concede that they've elevated their level of play to something that is more than watchable, Tony.
It's something else. It's a great game, and I'm glad to see that they're getting every year they're getting the just due that they deserve, because it was a hidden sport, and now it's mainstream, and they're and now it doesn't register that well in the pros.
They
Yeah.
just started a pro league, right?
Yeah.
I don't think it's actually started in terms of play.
Well, most of the girls, like the girl from Florida State last year or 2 years ago, she went to Japan.
yeah, because you make money.
Yeah. Well, Kim Eng is behind this league, whatever it is, American something of softball.
We'll see if it can transfer into the pros, because that's a stretch.
They could compete with the Marlins, though. As no, they had an announced attendance.
They could
5,000 the other night. 5,000. I guess that's the
Really?
lowest that they could possibly.
5,000.
That's what they announced. And you looked at the ballpark. There have been pictures circulating of their game against the Rockies on Monday night. There can't be 500 people there. Literally. I mean, imagine this. We hadn't experienced that. They have a roof, so you don't even have to worry about rains or any of that. That was the big concern. And you attract 500 people to a major league professional sporting event.
Yeah,
There were more people at Bobby Maduro when Sonny Hurst was making book out of the
Yes, there was.
speed of Florida State League.
When he was he had his three-legged dog, peg leg or something like that, and they were out there, and they had 500-600 people, 700 people at the game. He goes, it's great. It's
a good night, yeah.
Yeah.
it's a good
Tony was
night.
probably also running the 50-50. 50
Yes,
for
he
me
was.
and 50 for the pool.
Yes,
Yeah.
he was. Yes, he was.
All right, let's bring in Ed Garcia from Texas Roadhouse Restaurant. It's always great to have Ed on the program here. Is our Michigan connection for certain, our college guy, and I.
Good morning.
We haven't really dipped into this yet, Ed, and good to have you on as always. But what level of excitement we always want to use, and especially people in the hospitality business, and you guys would be at Texas Roadhouse, a great spot to catch a little Florida Panther, Edmonton Oiler action later on tonight. What are your thoughts on the series, and does this have any kind of impact on the restaurants here in South Florida?
It typically does. I will start off, though. I did go to the Marlins game last night, and
Oh,
I
God,
made
you did? Get out of here.
501.
How many people did you bring in your party? Because if you bring 5, that means 495.
Correct. Yes. I'll tell you, I paid $30. I was row 2, basically next to the dugout.
Wow.
So,
And how lonely did you get? I mean, I know you had people with you, but how weird was it being in an empty ballpark and actually realizing we're approaching the midway point of the season?
yeah, it definitely is crazy to look around and see how empty it is, but it felt fantastic to pay $30, and I could tell, and I forget his name, the third baseman for the Marlins, but that he really is 5'7". So, but I'll tell you, he played his heart out. He had a phenomenal game. It was a pretty cool ending. I don't know if you saw last night's highlight, but we stayed to the very end because I was not worried about traffic in the ballpark. So, but it was like full count. He hit it, and I mean, it was like 5 feet short of the wall to tie the game to make it go into extra innings. So, but unfortunately, the guy caught it, and the Marlins lost. But it's a beautiful ballpark. It's an easy date night for those people on an economic budget. Yep. But shifting gears, getting back into the Panthers, man, I feel that they're gonna dominate. The captain and Chachuk and all that stuff. I mean, it's going to look pretty solid. I'm excited tonight at 8:00. I actually did buy tickets on Friday. I have the girls in town, and Friday we're going to go see the watch party down at whatever the stadium is called today.
Federal.
Yeah.
So, the arena, the actual arena.
Amelie? Is it Amelie?
Marin.
I used to live right there in those towers, but I'm excited to. I think they're playing really, really, really solid, really dominant hockey, and it's good for them. It took them some time to get there.
They both had a lot of time off.
Yep,
they've had a lot of time off.
Yep.
And I don't know about how you think, but I think teams got to stay in the rhythm, and when they don't, it's going to be tougher than I think people think.
I think that boils down to the coaching at that point. When you get a lot of time off, how quality the practice is, scrimmages, everything else. If you can kind of keep that mental facade going, because there is a little bit when you dominate, you want to take that foot off. And I talk about this with work all the time. You can't arrive. You have to keep fighting for every single inch and going. And I think, if the coaching staff did that, they're going to be fine.
Is that a new Texas Roadhouse hat you have on?
Yeah. It's pretty cool. So my coach, one of my product coach, he handles all my kitchens. He's got a connection with I forget what the name of this organization is. The BB. They're very popular. They make some pretty stylish, slightly pricey hats, but they're phenomenal, and gets all this local Texas Roadhouse stuff printed on them. So very, very good. It's probably against our company policy, but they look cool.
you got to get some to us.
I got you. Whenever we're meeting next, I mean, especially with all this rain going on, we can hang out and drink margaritas.
Be one way to eat it, that's for sure. All right, what do you think? Because Lubie has his trepidations about it. Tony, I think, is all in on the Panthers, thinks they're going to do it. I'm a little afraid that my slight lean would be towards Edmonton to win the series. It was a bloodbath last year. It couldn't be any more of an entertaining matchup if you were a hockey fan to see these guys go at it again. It's kind of as if Hagler and Hearns had a rematch immediately after. But what do you think? I mean, do you share the same concerns that I do, or are you semi-confident like Lubie, or completely convinced that the Panthers win a second Stanley Cup?
I'm confident that the Panthers are going to win. I think there's going to be some trials and tribulations along the way. So my predictions are the Panthers in 6.
Panthers in 6. All right.
Panthers in 6. That's what I think too.
That's I find it hard to believe they're going to win a game 7 in Edmonton. So to me, for them to win, it would be in 6. And I'm scared to say this, but I feel them in 6 as well, which isn't great that we're all on the same page.
I see them losing tonight because Edmonton's there and the crowd's going to be jacked up and everybody's going to be screaming and yelling. But then after they settle in, then the I don't think it'll go 7. But if it does, then it's up for grabs. But if it goes 6, yes.
Yeah. The Panthers will pull it off in 6. There's some good depth, and I think that they got this. They just got to continue to stay focused.
All right, we'll see what happens. I don't know. With you guys on board, all Panthers in 6. Let me see if Lipschitz will take my call right now. I got to go Edmonton in 6.
Let's go.
Even worse. I mean, they win it right here in front of the home fans. In a million years, though, I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday on a show. He became. I started, learning about him and his race calling ability when he was working for one of these score phone things where you called up and got a stretch call, and he was sitting in some boiler room somewhere in Costa Rica and given a stretch call recreation of races. He ended up becoming a track announcer at Santa Anita and Saratoga. He'll be calling the Belmont Stakes for my friend Frank Maramati. And in a million years, you could have never seen this taking place. And I'm thinking about, and you go way back with this, Tony. I'm sure you were at some of these meetings and press conferences. And I'll never forget, I'm at, they held a kind of a gathering of the Panther brass when the original franchise was announced. And they had Bill Torrey, they had Bobby Clark, couple of other people, and it was at Burton Jack's. I don't know if you were at that thing. I mean,
Burton Jack's. Yes, I was.
If it wasn't catered, it wasn't journalism back in the day, and so everybody's feasting. It could have been a Texas Roadhouse today. Would have been a lot cheaper. That's for sure for the club. But and in a million years, I could have never thought, okay, this is going to work to the extent that 30 some odd years down the road, this team will go to 3 straight Stanley Cup Finals. I couldn't imagine it.
I couldn't imagine it either.
Out of way.
Yeah. So I mean, where does that leave us in terms of where this team ranks among franchises? Look, the Dolphins did it, but that was 50 years ago. More than that now. The Heat did it. Will they ever go to 4 straight finals again? You would have to think no. I mean, right now they're searching for whatever identity they can establish, even with their own culture. Where does this rank? I don't know. You've been following South Florida sports, Ed, for a long time. In terms of, you had the Canes dynasty there with football. That was great. But unanticipated, that's for sure.
Building dynasties today, I mean, you kind of touched on it already. It just really boils down to the culture inside the 4 walls. And you have a successful season. I mean, a good example is the Lions. They didn't make it all the way to the Super Bowl, but they had one of their best seasons ever last year. What happened to the coaching staff? Dollars start flying around, and management gets picked apart. And a lot of people, they don't quit the company. They quit their bosses, or if their bosses leave. I mean, that's what, that's the pyramid right there. And I think that's just the part of the business world today, sports today. I mean, sports are essentially, it's just a very expensive business. And so building dynasties is a big challenge. Seeing 3-peats, I think, is going to be, something a little bit far-fetched. You won't see that too often anymore, and especially, a quad in any sort. So that's just my 2 cents on it. I think it's a challenge to get someone to stick together, that long.
Yeah, I think it is too, because there's all this money now flying around where they can pay a guy so much money to switch teams, and they yes, it's going to be hard. I'm not saying this one, this series, but beyond that,
Keeping them together. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, it's the coaches too. It's just not the players, to get that number one spot, to become a GM or to become this or whatever the situation may be. It's like, hey, this is, why you started this career, in a sense, is to move forward, because, if you have an awesome season, the head coach ain't going anywhere. So,
yeah.
Would you ever consider putting elk on the menu at your South Florida Roadhouse locations? And are there any Texas Roadhouse restaurants in that area of Canada?
We did look at Canada for a very, very long time.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
And we were going to build one in Burlington, which is right outside of Toronto. And this is going back about 10 years ago, I want to say, maybe 9. Unfortunately, so when we go outside of the United States, we build a partnership with another concept, and we basically become 50-50 partners. And part of the reasoning is that concept already knows how health departments work, shipping works, all that stuff, because, we want to get the best quality steaks and all that stuff in there. And the partnership ended up dissolving. The same thing happened in South America. You almost may not have me here today, because 12, 13 years ago, they were interviewing me, and actually did get offered the position to run Brazil and Colombia. Wow. And I'm glad I didn't take that job because we still don't have any down there yet. So
You'd be like Mike Budenholzer, just getting paid to do nothing. That would be awesome.
well, they would have put me to work, that's for sure. But so that's part of it. But gosh, we're over 50 worldwide now, which is pretty exciting. But none in Canada yet. And but hey, we're still growing strong. We're about to open up, officially number 800 this year, which is pretty exciting. 800. And we'll get another 20, 25 on the books next year.
Wow. Awesome.
How, just in a nutshell, 800. So that means you have 800 owners.
Correct.
How do you keep them happy to keep the customer happy?
That's interesting.
Bottom line is that, they're the owner operator. And I think that's the best part about it is that it's their business. So they know what they need to do in their town to continue to move forward. We're very flatline when it comes to a lot of that, leadership in a sense, and really allow them to be the center of the universe so they can make their decisions. I'm here to support, to help them grow. I have my 12 and help them grow into, what they want to be. But because it's their business, if they don't take care of it right, they're not going to have a business in 5 years. They take care of it right, it's going to continue to grow and feed their family. And that's the best part, is that because they're the owner operator, they get that percentage, their family gets to eat well. So
800 guys on that Zoom call when they do the corporate State of the Union address.
Can you imagine 800 boxes?
Yeah, 800 boxes. They look like
No, we don't do that. We're not like a Zoom company. We just did our big meeting in Vegas. That's why I couldn't join you.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
At the Sphere, that would make some sense. And always a pleasure. Thanks so much for joining us. Root your Panthers in 6. And hopefully that'll spark and ignite a lot of people to go out and eat a lot of steaks and celebrate with some margaritas at Texas Roadhouse. Thanks so much for being with us.
Let's go. Have a great day, guys.
Thanks, Ed.
All right. I think I'm a lock here, man. Between you, Lubie, Tony, Lubie, and
your only problem is
all with the same prediction.
Yes.
Please. I mean, how much I'm going to have to see what my limit is.
I'm going with Lubie on this one.
I hope it happens. You know what? Having been here for 40 some odd years covering sports, I mean, the likelihood that you would win back-to-back Stanley Cup championships in hockey was, went from 0.0 possibilities when we didn't have a team to, almost less than that.
Almost.
When we had a team and they were horrible.
Yes.
So it's kind of interesting.
The early years were just terrible. Terrible.
Well, not as we said before, not the first three. They were sort of semi-promising, I guess, and then we went through about 25 years of nothingness. Unbelievable. It was ugly, but here we are. So it all starts tonight. Tony, where are you going to be taking in the game? You're going to be in front of the TV set at home, or
I'm right in front of my big TV at home.
Nice.
And I'm explaining the game to my wife.
Oh, I thought she would be a Red Wing fan and know everything about it.
No, hockey is not her strength, but she's going to come around. She's learning the game, and she said today, just going out of the house, she says, I'm going to go to work, but there's a guy at work that knows hockey, so he's going to teach me some rules. And we're going to come home. We're going to get food, and we're going to eat it in front of the TV. And
sounds good. Sounds like a great night.
Yeah.
She could take. Lubie's got his Lubie on Ice, a series that he's got on TikTok.
No.
What?
All of the nuances and idiosyncrasies of the game. Yeah.
You have what? Lubie on TikTok?
Lubie on Ice on TikTok. Check it out. Oh, he's become Don Cherry right here on the show. It's been great. I really love it. I mean, all of a sudden he's naming fourth line players from the Edmonton Oilers, talking about their background in the juniors. It's fantastic. All right, Tony, you have a great one. We'll see you next time. Tony Segreto, All School with Tony Segreto. I still don't understand the women's college softball format. Do you, Lubie? I mean,
I think they don't do.
How the hell did they get there? How did they get to this point where it's 2 out of? They were all in Oklahoma City.
Earlier. No, they think they have regionals, then super.
No, it was all regional stuff, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's the same thing as college baseball. I just think they start earlier. I think they started like a week to 2 weeks earlier. I think it's the same thing. I think they have a regional, then a super regional, then a World Series. Instead of Omaha, it's Oklahoma City.
How many fingers am I holding up? I mean, it's not clear to me. That's I need the ref to come over in the corner and just say, "Okay, DeForest, this is how it works." You'll be able to explain it for the rest of your life. All right. Well, good luck to everybody that's involved in the Panthers tonight. Later on today on Bleacher Brothers, about 10:30 Eastern this morning, we will have Bill Lindsay live from Edmonton. Had a great preview yesterday of the Belmont Stakes and a terrific conversation on Conversations with Frank Miramonti. That was some good stuff. And if you want to sort of dive into the mind of a guy who has been sort of a twisted gambling degenerate, but now has blossomed into a universal voice. Santa Anita and Saratoga, those are two. I mean, imagine you tell some guy that's getting into race calling, okay, I'll give you Santa Anita and Saratoga. Would that be okay with you? You get the two most prestigious tracks in the country. I don't know. I mean, what else would rank up there? Does Santa Anita still hold that stature, Lubie, in your opinion, with 5
At least when I talk to horse people, yeah. Santa Anita, people have
beautiful placement.
It's very strong sentiment about Santa Anita.
And Toga is Toga. It's unique. So the Belmont coming up, he likes Sovereignty. That's up on Bleacher Brothers and seems to be drawing a good reaction. And we'll have Bill Lindsay analyzing the series. Now, a guy who should really, you would think he would be able to define a few things for us, no?
Oh, no, he knows his stuff.
Maybe I know he can divorce himself and detach himself from what would be a natural Panther bias, but I don't know. I mean, you think he's going to sugarcoat this the Panthers way?
He'll lean Panthers, but he's honest.
Yeah.
I mean, look,
and there's no reason not to think that they can win the series. I mean,
Mayo and I are disagreeing. From everything I've read or seen, it's pretty well regarded that the Panthers have the best overall team in hockey. I mean, I didn't make this up. The analysts talk about their third and fourth line, like other teams. I've never heard of them even mention the players on that. Maybe in the last series they got some scoring. Every round, the Panthers were getting the same level of production from the fourth line that they were the first. And it wasn't that the first wasn't contributing, it's that the fourth was just playing really well. I haven't heard that from any team. The Oilers, you hear about the best player in hockey, McDavid, Draisaitl, who whenever I've watched him, I don't know if he's as good as he's the second best player in hockey. I don't know. I'll take Barkov as much as I'll take Draisaitl, to be brutally honest. The way Barkov now plays end to end, and the way he literally facilitates in a way. Draisaitl's a good scorer, but I haven't seen him do the other things like Barkov does. So I don't know.
I think he was wasn't he a little flat in the series last year?
We've seen that. We in this last series, Draisaitl was McDavid that carried them. Like we've seen Draisaitl be up and down in these series. Barkov, even when you're not hearing his name, you look at his stats at the end of the series and they're freaking ridiculous. And again, as he's gotten older, he's become an all-around player. Like they call him the best all-around forward. Like he plays great defense.
But he is they're I mean, you could say Kachuk, but Barkov obviously is a featured guy. I mean, he is their McDavid much more so than Draisaitl would be.
Yeah. So if you want to see talent-wise, Draisaitl's the second best player in the series, that's fine. After that, for the Oilers, there's a major drop-off. The Panthers, there isn't. Like for him, at times he's led them. Reinhardt at times has led them. Marchand might have been their best player all around throughout the playoffs, like the Lundell, Osterino, like all those guys have had for a very similar level of contribution. So that's why I say the Panthers are the better team overall.
Yeah.
They have the better goal.
Who's the guy who sounds like a cough drop? Mikola
was huge. I mean, look, coming up again,
you don't even hear much about Ekblad.
Well, and Hyman is supposedly right there. Well, he's not playing at all. So that's a huge thing for the Oilers. But they do have the best player. And we've seen in a sport where there's only 5 or 6 guys on the court or ice at one time, having the best player can carry you, and that's what I've said, that there's a reason that the greatest player of every generation has multiple titles. Like in hockey, whether it was Howe or Hull or Gretzky or the Islanders' great players or the Avalanche great players or the Red Wings, like the great players of a generation win titles, plural. The fact that McDavid doesn't have one yet is a black mark on his career, and as the opponent scares the living crap out of me. Like, all
right, we'll see. Who wins tonight? Just real quick.
I think it's Edmonton. I think they come out with their hair on fire.
Who scores the first goal? What team?
I told you, I think it's Draisaitl.
Draisaitl. Okay.
Just shut me up.
We'll see how those predictions hold up.
Yeah.
I'm sure most of you will be backing that with a heavy dose of cash and confidence. But we'll see. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll have Bill Lindsay join us about 10:30 right here on Bleacher Brothers. And for all you people out there that are looking for some real in-depth analysis of what's going to transpire, I think Bill's going to fill the bill for us later on today. And as I mentioned, Frank Miramonte picking Sovereignty. He hadn't made a public pick. I think Sovereignty bounces back and essentially outlined this as a 3-horse race with Sovereignty Journalism and Baeza. So I don't know that it took any tremendous level of expertise to make that deduction, but look, don't get cute, right? Those are the 3 horses that you would think would stand out coming up in the Belmont Stakes. All right, we will see you guys tomorrow. Thanks so much for being with us. For Mike Lubie Lubitz, Tony Segreto, Ed Garcia, I'm Jeff DeForest. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time as we leave you know that.
The time.
9:06.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.